The morning of Saturday, April 25, 2026, did not bring the usual desert calm to West Africa. Instead, the nation of Mali woke up literally in flames. In a display of coordination rarely seen in modern asymmetric warfare, the cities of Bamako, Kidal, Gao, Savari, Mopti, and Kidal were struck simultaneously. This wasn't just a series of skirmishes. It was a synchronized decapitation strike against the ruling military junta. By Sunday, the silence of shock was replaced by the roar of explosions. General Sadio Camara, the powerful Minister of Defense and the architect of Mali's pivot toward Moscow, was killed. A massive car bomb leveled his official residence in Kidal, sending a clear message: no one is safe. Simultaneously, near the dunes of Gao, a Russian Mi-8 helicopter belonging to the Africa Corps was blasted out of the sky, claiming the lives of everyone on board. But perhaps the most humiliating blow fell in the strategic city of Kidal. In 2023, Russian and Malian forces celebrated the liberation of this stronghold with grand propaganda. Today, those same Russian mercenaries were filmed negotiating their own retreat with Tuareg rebels, abandoning the city in a frantic convoy, leaving behind mountains of weapons and ammunition. How did we reach this point of total collapse? How did a nation that had terrorists cornered in 2022 become a failed state in 2026? To understand this catastrophe, we must travel back to the desperate days of January 2013. Mali was on the verge of disappearing from the map. A dark coalition of jihadists and Tuareg rebels groups, like AQIM Ansar Dine and MUJAO, had seized the entire north. They were moving fast, their technicals kicking up dust as they reached Diobali, just 6 hours from the capital. The Malian government sent a desperate cry for help to Paris. The French response was lightning fast: Operation Serval. Within 48 hours, French special forces and Rafale fighter jets were screaming across the Sahelian sky, supported by US KC-135 tankers and a massive Pentagon airlift featuring C-17 Globemaster IIs. The French smashed the terrorist columns before they could reach the seat of power. Within 6 months, historic cities like Timbuktu were liberated. The French military doctrine was surgical. Ground patrols forced the enemy to reveal their positions, followed by immediate annihilation via air power or heavy artillery. It was an operational masterclass with minimal casualties. By 2014, this evolved into Operation Barkhane, a multinational effort with a €1 billion annual budget and 5,000 elite troops. Mali was stable, the desert was monitored, and the extremists were pushed into the most remote pockets of the Sahara. Success in warfare is never just about bullets. It is about pillars of legitimacy. The French mission stood on 3 clear objectives: stopping the march on the capital, multilateral support, UN and EU backing, and a political roadmap, exemplified by the 2015 Algiers peace agreement. However, the political soil of Mali was shifting. In 2020, a coup led by Colonel Assimi Goïta changed everything, seeking to entrench their power and avoid international pressure for elections. The new military junta turned away from Paris and toward the cold embrace of Vladimir Putin. They hired the infamous Wagner Group, trading their sovereignty for the promise of a no-questions-asked defense. By 2022, the French were forced out. By 2023, the UN peacekeepers were expelled. Mali handed its entire national security over to the Kremlin. Back in the Sahel, the Russian solution was beginning to rot from within. The definitive turning point was the Battle of Tinzoutin in July 2024. A combined Russian-Malian convoy was lured into a Tuareg ambush and utterly annihilated. It was the single largest loss of Russian lives on African soil. In a panic, the Kremlin rebranded Wagner as the Africa Corps, but names don't win, war's logistics and doctrine do. The Russians lacked the critical mass the French once provided. They attempted to control a territory the size of Western Europe with only 2,000 men. Even worse, the Russian doctrine failed. Instead of the active mobile patrolling used by the French, the Russians became bunkerized. They retreated into fixed bases, relying solely on drones while ceding the actual terrain to the rebels. But the most devastating failure wasn't tactical, it was moral. Russian brutality, such as the horrific massacre in Mura, where 500 civilians were executed, did more for jihadist recruitment than any propaganda video ever could. They radicalized the very population they claimed to protect. Furthermore, Moscow had no political strategy for Mali. They didn't care about peace deals or infrastructure. They were there as colonialists, interested only in extracting gold and minerals in exchange for keeping a dictatorship alive. By September 2025, the JNIM insurgent group imposed a total fuel blockade, strangling the economy and grounding the Malian army. Today, in 2026, the government has lost control of over 70% of the country. What we are witnessing is the final chapter of Putin's African disaster. Mali is on the brink of an internal collapse that will likely trigger a domino effect in neighboring Burkina Faso and Niger. The Sahel is being handed over to extremist control in a scenario that mirrors the 2021 fall of Afghanistan. Russia promised security and delivered a funeral pyre. The void left by the French wasn't filled by Russian strength, but by Russian greed and incompetence, leaving a gaping wound in the heart of Africa that may take decades to heal. The geopolitical price of this Russian retreat extends far beyond the borders of Bamako. By treating the African continent as a mere chessboard for anti-Western sentiment, rather than a region in need of genuine institutional stability, Moscow has inadvertently empowered the very radicalism it claimed to combat. The Africa Corps, far from being a specialized anti-terror unit, has proven to be little more than a protection racket for a cornered junta. Without the intelligence networks, logistical depth, and diplomatic weight that the French-led coalition provided, the Malian military is now a hollow force, unable to secure its own supply lines or protect its citizens from a resurgent and emboldened insurgency. The fallout of this 2026 collapse will be felt most acutely in the corridors of the Kremlin, where the African dream of a new Russian frontier is rapidly turning into a nightmare of overextension and disgrace. As Tuareg rebels and jihadist factions carve up what remains of the Malian state, the international community watches a slow-motion catastrophe that was entirely preventable. Putin's gamble in the Sahel has not only dismantled years of hard-won security gains, but has also ignited a regional firestorm that threatens to destabilize the entire West African coast, proving once and for all that a mercenary-driven foreign policy is no substitute for real statecraft and legitimate alliances. If you value these deep geopolitical investigations that go beyond the headlines to reveal the true cost of global power plays, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update on the shifting front lines of our world. What do you think? Was the Russian intervention in Mali doomed from the start, or was it a deliberate play for resources at the cost of human life? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Until the next report.